Mani Padme Hong Re Om Mani Padme Hong Re Om Mani Padme Hong Re Chimi dorjin jangla so wa de mo gada juya da barda wala la de ji chi dorji go re go no de je la ma jo thum dorji jangla so wa de sana so wa ba je jo wa thomong ngim jo sa se chri jin jo sa kha sa me nyam ne thar song ne do ni be me le ja de ba jo so som dong ga ja da chi je je nya so me bo jo wa ji la so se ji do de jo da da ji na Tamba Jujan the Tardo so Tini Telanam the Tinita Tang so the Sura Zudata Rosala Chapa on it, Telang Gitini, Flatam Chilata Chavis, the Tinisano Jicti and the Penaco, Meto, Dupum Mamet Chavi, Romotela Sopatamche. Good the Motu Pretty Tavani, Tonton Touch a Kang of Agon, Trisingela. Matatati, Toma the Jachimbope, Nancy Jerjan going on it. Tatin and it, Tatini, Namu Potato Jay Kang, the Lepetata, Sanoji, Namu Potamjena, Tamji, Ijene Tomba Chimboret, Jay Kang, Tinat or somebody, Tinat or something. Chugo Tongmani did Daripella, Chumjungzi, Sursum the Chumjung Tosum the Chukolongo Tokosum Sub Daripella, or Namka de Tape, you will Namka the Tongmani, Namka Darat, and Namka the Mentagona, Cosum Subaret. Then it Cosum the current somebody in the Penaco. Tatang Firang is similar to the Hago, Mo Tomba, Ravin Sava, Tujikuna Chapa. Then it trigger Ramji Penaco, Cosum way or day over. Then it theatre veterinary. Yelvertin, Doatin, Tosum Tatani, Kim Jong Dali, Gomboka Tatani, Kim Jong. Then it did the 2 jets or the 2 jets, not kids of jet up at that. Red. Then it did chicken mebong bavala. Then it the data of the Jack Kang, then it ran hung shiller, Katang Shetola. Shetukan was a shepa like a bella. Congress rang now on the top of the party. 다들 시 주지 야예 가는 것도 일이 제거를 빼라 국들이 올해 뭐 동마랑 기사와 거성거랑 비대 다다다랑 일이전에 빼는 세공들은 가장 샤르들이 되는 다다다디 딱보이슬라 야예 강 경고탄 개발한 게 일이 세나 드리는 게 빠지는 산이 빼라 대다대다가 빼네 드리 동도어들이 뒤타는들이 라랑이 실려져 빼더니 실려져 빼더니 야예 강 야예 강도 앞에 야예 강 제발 거는 망고래데 야예 강 쪽섬에 살이 단지 시에다는 송을하면은 랍지 제바 요래 들디 밤에 송을 말해 다 남과트나 쪽섬 바고라 드니 야예 강 쪽저 거기 봐 다들이 기라 드니 다 배마다니 만드는 게
Rinpoche dingas Rinpoche nyaga nyoren to sum.
디
Dirwala.
tingla to
Di tusum di kawayore.
tingla to
Jaya kan
남거 빼래 남과 tingla 봐 남과다 가도 ting라래 드니도 남과데 첫 빼줘 오는 거 오는 말아 동반이 남 탈스음 되게다 되나 죽고는 오고 죽고선 설성보다 드니 곰주 다다 퍼퍼 니 저거는 저거 기술 독점을 땡주 동반이 다르와
Kiko kimalayo.
리 저거 기랑나 퍼퍼 저거 독점을
Ni jaya kan de kiko rong ro wala.
저거 기리래 가도 등나나 과다가 독점 딩나 독점도 새로와 디낭나 가다 밤이 오전에 등나 독점 치무지 디낭나 되니 야예강 디지홀 되니 빼마 남크다리 될 독점 남카데
Jingon la Rinpoche ni kunzang chutin mangboji sonsum di dimando. Jingon la Rinpoche kunzang
나무
chutin.
보다서 야예강
군사 추진.
나무 뭐 탐지 빼는 거 야예강 교고래 야예강래지 야예강래지 다른 뭐지 가리요래 진 등나 독점 봐봐 다통 남과 일이 주진 용내에 된 게 되고 주진 용내 해라 남과 가면 대다서 사강도 반항칸을 봐 이 반항칸들을 똥만이 가면 되더니 피해거는 되니 다다 독점 춘종제 똥만이 이제 달아 등나 독점 지보를 밤이 좀 걸고 마포 독점을 본 거더라 춘종 제모스 봐 제모 타와 들대서 뭐 내가 지와 기대돼 와서 시리로 뒤집 바래 나 등나들 빼라 밤을 춘종 마포를 봐 근데 저딴 주미 남리에 빼나가 내리 제바 송고요 말해 법이고 제바를 빼 랩장 제바라 비치름 제바 망보여래 근데 주미에 빼놓고 다 하람사 설사설삼에 송고 말해가가 랩장 제바를 들어가서 여래 디디니 공코 제는 법이 공코는 들어가서 여래 배
The text says various apparitional appearances of the celestial palace in a triangular blue-black blazing mandala. The outer world and all sentient beings in this case is visualized as being a celestial mansion. It's a kind of mandala. This mandala is right in the center of a blazing, this is a blazing mandala right in the center of a blue-black triangular. The triangular shape is blue and black in color, and it symbolizes the space. And space symbolizes emptiness. Now blazing is around the mandala. So the triangle has 3 edges, and each edge represents the 3 kayas. And in the mandala, around the triangular, there are 8 cemeteries, and these 8 cemeteries represent the 8 consciousnesses. So this triangular actually represents emptiness, and it also represents the true nature of your mind. When you look in the true nature of your mind, it appears to be like the space, without any limit, without any measure. For instance, the nature of mind is empty. That empty aspect of the mind is Dharmakaya. Although it is empty, it is self-aware. It is self-luminous. That luminousness of the mind is the Sambhogakaya. And it is not just an empty and luminous mind, but it is naturally compassionate. And that compassion pervades all phenomena. That all-pervasive compassion is the Nirmanakaya. So this triangular shape represents the entire reality of mind and matter. Now, the whole mandala is perceived in this state, in this realization. And it is a very pure celestial mansion. And it is a part of your own self-awareness. In the extensive description of Vajrakilaya, the visualization of generation stage is explained in very minute detail, and there is a very thick text for just the generation stage. But here it is very, very much simplified. It has made very easily understandable.
Tata lupo de la teni duyunga la sonde cha hin zupo de la pin cha hin ten duyung cha hin khwa le chingge yo zupo de la teni pongbu de de ti cha hin je zawa ga le de nyu mo ba de pe la ale ta do cha cha da bo la so kwa nyu mo ba de so teni di nyu mo ba de ga le so de ne teni pongbu de gap to kin lang le de wa le cha the tang devala shin, Chedi devala shin, Rogore, fly per dude. Three delaki devala young to send three Chadaga dude, and it's a long way patani cook. Then he bear go Meriton, Chadaga do so, shower, take Chadaga dude. Some dordin that is a new mumba yell and do your bella. That I was to Trimbishirap and new mumba go no the then he party dorji on the Trimbishirap and more bella. Then the Duke take a trishik and you move what I want no but Dalla, then he shabdinity data. Then it doesn't your mother Tata and a tap the sharp easy. Then Captain Jerem Jesse don't work out at any Pamani come come with a Kialing, decent and Tata don't need a hingy. The Jerem the Jesse don't worry. Tati turn out home, did any home turn out you did that number shiba. Then it like you coil and Gitana. Didn't Tata you home till the result true Sanjet of the Chu, certain jet of the bad young. This Sanjet of just an up dinner. Then in trough, the church Sanjet of the 2 years and up dinner. Then it done ye mapped go. Taranga same drinking him body. Then ye married. Rang sem dirking you mapu, but in semi jimba or Dagarang, the party dodgy you call Shire, Dani mapu dog, and then a quiet language, Rang sem dirking you the mapu parade. Three Sharsam custom sombadari, Sanji custom, you and the Yobadari, Sharsam, Yeka, Turko, Yomalongo, Untanka, Sugar, Somba, Sartok, and a Paris look up at Edekaka.
And the fourth demon is the demon of skandhas or aggregates. So the demon of skandha means the clinging to a body, the feeling of I and meanness. That is the demon of skandha, because this body is composed of the 5 skandhas. And from that I arise attachment, and that attachment is the demon of afflictive emotion. And when that attachment develops stronger, then there is the distinction between good and bad, and happiness and suffering, and attachment to happiness, aversion to suffering. That is the demon of God's Son. So when we waste our life totally confused by attachment and aversion, death comes without any warning, suddenly. That is the demon of death. So these 4 demons are actually 4 afflicting emotions. And the way to suppress or eliminate these 4 demons is by using the power of mindfulness. And Vajrakilaya is mindfulness in a personal form, in the form of a deity. And Vajrakilaya is standing on these 4 demons, means that these 4 afflicting emotions are being subdued through mindfulness. The sun disk represents skillful means, and the moon disk represents wisdom, and also the sun represents emptiness and the moon represents compassion. As I explained earlier that this part of the generation stage is a kind of training to purify the process of taking birth. So therefore, the practice of generation stage is connected with taking birth. And in the center of the moon disk, there is the blue-black hung. This hung is your own consciousness in the form of a mantra. And from this mantra, a lot of rays of light goes to the 10 directions. And these rays of lights become offerings to the enlightened beings. And this light returns and dissolves back into the hung with the blessings of all these enlightened beings. And then also a lot of rays of light goes down to the sentient beings. As soon as these rays of light touch them, their obscurations become dispelled. When this has been done, then this hung transforms into Vajrakilaya. So thereby transforming your own consciousness into Vajrakilaya. In this text, it talks about self-nature arises as the unfabricated, perfected presence. This mind in its own nature, in its simplicity, without anything changed, without anything added, that is the Vajrakilaya. That is the nature of your Buddha nature. The 3 heads represents the 3 kayas, and the 6 hands represents 6 perfections.
샵제도 재미이게. 드니 자와는 오진이를 했지. 근데 노차다들이 노자다들. 드니 시와서 같아. 드니 코비 계셨어야 좀 나래지. 이와도 싫은 데가 계셨어야 좀 치와서 봐. 예. 아니 사이에 봐니까 돌지 제거 제가 니. 좀 돌지 제거 됐더니 특별한 걸 나와. 제가 되는 로아 중앙이보다. 이서 용이나 몇번 되게 코바가 박차다며 썩보다 이 가창들 지에서 되게 독섬제를 줘봤다. 아니서 둘이 두 제탑에 시바 망보를 되게 론도마다 바는데 나르들아 이어디 나를 열에 되게 빼는데 로아를 독탐께 들었다. 되는 잠을 열에 드리 용콜로제데 만데 빼나 저땅 네 도지존을 살아더리 저봐 드리 용콜로제데 만데 접시 조망으로 저봐 이소
조망오모
사다
조망오모
조망오모리 저봐레 드리 돈을 다다 사다 저봐레 드리 낭당에는 빼나 다다 돈이 다 hinje solde jopada la tamje sani yavyom jorjere teni go ta tamar pana to tamje na o tamar pana ye mare 돈이 다 hinje khama de da re 돈을 yavyom yemi da bare 드린 들은데 돈이 hinje ni khama de na teni ta da so simla pe temi hinje chibo jena simder devase yore controla서 와서 동의 요래 빼라. 디 대화침이 디 동대 동발라. 이랬다는 것도 담배 받아줘라. 제 로봇으로 체 대화침 요래. 딩모된 전구 요래 빼라. 돈이 hin이 카마리 대화침 동 담배 대화침 어제 본전에 대화 요래. 디 동야 동거래 예배죠.
And the 4 feet represents the 4 immeasurables. Vajrakilaya is wearing the 5 Buddha families on his crown, on his head. Vajrakilaya's mouth gaping, tongue rolling, and fangs bared. This gesture is the sign that Vajrakilaya cuts birth and death from the root. In the 2 right hands, Vajrakilaya is holding a Vajra with 5 spokes and a Vajra with 9 spokes. The Vajra with 9 spokes represents the 9 tantras. And the Vajra with 5 spokes symbolize that Vajrakilaya liberates sentient beings from the 5 realms. When you say 5 realms, the demigod is included in the god realm. And then the 2 left hands hold a fire mass and a Khadvanka. The fire mass symbolizes the burning of the habitual tendencies, habitual patterns of all sentient beings. And the Khadvanka has 3 tips, 3 points. And these 3 points symbolize the destruction of the 3 poisonous thoughts. In the text, it talks about wearing all the complete, terrifying charnel ground accoutrements. Each charnel ground dresses have its own meaning, but I'm not really clear about all that. But all this symbolize the liberation of sentient beings from the 6 realms, symbolize that all sentient beings' emotions are being tamed. Vajrakilaya is in union with the great concert Kolo Jai Debma. Vajrakilaya is an emanation of Vajrapani, and his concert is an emanation of the green Tara. When you see these 2 deities in union, you shouldn't think that it is like an ordinary union of 2 different beings. Rather, you should understand that as a symbol of emptiness and compassion being unified. The concert represents emptiness, and the deity represents compassion. When these deities are unified, it shows that emptiness and compassion are inseparable. They are always together. And it also means that in essence, emptiness and compassion are not 2 things, but they are one thing. That is the message. If emptiness and compassion are not separated, then in that state of unity, there is great bliss. And the bliss is a product of compassion. In ordinary relationship also, when the couples are unified with loving kindness and compassion, there is a great bliss. And this form of the deity is also a kind of symbol of that. If compassion and emptiness are not unified, and if there is anger, then that entails a lot of suffering.
Lama da gyushini chimbo tabje yang nira la yang suna lai ba jurwa. Lama da gyushini chimbo tin rangi namni mde nira la yang suna ngada bure ngada wa lai to du kudo yore. Chidu khala ya bote be ha te ta jog do ra. Ngni de shile be ya bote shi gore. 도대 존에서 당주 진실이 봐. 문에 도대 존에서 진배시라고 오 영문인데 시골에 첩다가 들레병에 진정한지 되니 도대 존을 하고를 만들어.
So the lamas, when they become attached to name and fame and praise by disciples, that is the demon of God's son. And Rinpoche is an example of that. So you invite Rinpoche everywhere, give him the best food, praise him. So that was a good question because it's very important to know. And Vajrakilaya is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the real Vajrakilaya. If you have mindfulness, then you can know everything. And then you can get rid of these demons, such as death.
Tani, hade yamyum tani jole tok dewa chimbo tela. Tani tata di trawa rinpa nyingka dewa aweda sla tamche dinana songwa nangi re. Di cho re ranga lude per kutonsang ja chong tabare. Di luge nanga takam tamche di sla chi chong tiga chare. Chung kang wada tani sla chung jagare nana yore. Tani di 헬디 와젠나기 디사라 춘디 주디디 나기 소지 참제 때고 니체들이 톱기 송은 걸로 어디에 이어래 월로 초지 땡이 넣어서 초지 소지 참제 초지 되더니 서서 거기를 초지 낭디 다들 꾸리는 데다 합기 나기 요래인데 레레지도 로고입니다 갖고 니 얘기는 주디 설득이라더니 아예 라용된다 다다 공구속 나나래 드니 서로라 양게 니 바가젤 나기 칸네 니 주디인데 나기 다오 소위로가
가르쳐 오세요.
니다 야예강
야예강라 초시여러
야예강 소위에 참제 레가 또 지랑 야예강데는 베는디 다 파빠는 콜로제 히에로 베는 콜로제 제 콜로셉제 콜로셉제가 저라고네 육사는 콜로셉제요라 콜로셉제 대단히 주디다 하나 만나리 집지로 콜로라 콜로셉제라 지 바로 콜로 작은 콜로셉제 지저분들이 콜로셉제 진짜 새로운 처음에 콜로는 형제들이 남자가 콜로셉제 진짜 때나 홍가다 당을 라니나 꾸고라 내가 슬로르더니 초교요 나는 초교요 이 슬로르는 자송샤반에 샤르고요
콜레나라
리 고고에는 다다 폰데라
뭐지 당보 가려요 당보 뒤선도
당보 니는 요다 짜와라 홍가리야 리버 담리면 턱갈 신지인데 저기 이게 되는 셀로 요라 콘티 이게 되는 때 그래 초교 니니 거에 나는 요라 제 도지 슬로르 이제 가갈 샤는 거리 제 샤는 소 위에 참제를 조제 동원이네 조이교 들이 공부해야지 제가 니는 셀로 거는
Please look at page number 19 on line number 7 counting from the bottom. In the forehead is blue Hongkar and concert. In the throat is red Hayagirwa and concert. In the heart, blue Yamantaka and concert. Up on the navel, yellow-green Amrita Kundali and concert. In the navel, dark green Niowa and concert. In the cigarette place, blue Topchen and concert. In the right shoulder, white Namgyal and concert. In the left shoulder, blue Yugngö and concert. In the right thigh, flesh-colored Dogel and concert. In the left thigh, yellow-black Kamsum and concert. All together, in the body of Vajrakilaya, there are 10 wrathful deities in union with concerts. And then outside the body of Vajrakilaya, in the 4 directions, in the sub-directions, and above and below, there are another wrathful deities in union with concert. First, there is the Kilaya with the 10 wrathful deities in the body, on the parts as just explained in the text. And then outside in the 4 directions and sub-directions, 4 sub-directions, 8 up and down, above the Kilaya and below the Kilaya. Altogether, there are 10 wrathful deities outside. And this whole mandala appears something like this stupa with 8 directions, 4 directions and 4 sub-directions.
이 초침보 쩌더라 초침보 쩌더라 양 짜라스 지금 코르충충 이래요래 코르충충 삽수되네 양친공인지 가다 기도 담바르기 사라 되는 삽수되네 요번 이래 좁혀야 면 삽수제 삽지 팝죠 수지 마죠 되네 야변 이래 충충마 이용이라 되니디 좁혀진 난 노지 요는 고는 거에 소 위에서나 톱저선이요라 톱저선이 디낭드니 양콜로 쩌비제트나 세이제데 가다가 리나클라야 베마클라시라 세이제데는 파트는 예셨다비에 내가 늘 라디바르와 통이셨다비요 그래서
디 꾸이낭로라 요라발 꾸이낭로
세이제데 슬로라 세이제데 슬로라
칠로라
자다 꾸이낭로 초교디라
나네
초교디들이 고르디 슬로는 콜로스 위에지를 두개로와 콜로스 위에지 뒤에는 소 위에랑 그러나 이제 고세에 요로와 콜코들을 초교우지라 양
콜로디 강라 콩랑 슈고 요르베 콜로디 둘라요 콜로디 콩기 둘라요 요르베 콜로 강라 콩랑 슈고 요레
다 콜기 하나 요나 되게 고디랑 콜로 두개로 요로와 콜로 두개로 디슬라 콜로 두개로 디슬라 제지 당고 저 위에지 되니 저 위에지로와 저 위에지 좀 세를 이게 되지나나 당고 되지 노리 요노지 세예지 드리 초교지 초교를 삽수 이래 니시잡이에 되니 참고는 거 당고 노리 요노요 법법 콜로도 산이는 또 맞자 그거래 작품 콜로래 그게 니 콜로도 비엔랑 이 말이 또 산이 또 맞자 그런 통해
each wrathful deity in the body, 2 retinues. They are also in wrathful form. in the center of a wheel which has 4 spokes, there is Vajrakilaya with those deities inside the body. And on these 4 spokes, there are those 4 sun Kilayas. And then outside that wheel with 4 spokes, there is a wheel with 8 spokes.
아니 콜로 집 게용인데가 수주어. 게딩가 수여.
And on these 8 spokes, there are another 8 wrathful deities. And outside that, in the next circle, there are 10 wrathful herukas. And each 10 wrathful heruka has 2 wrathful retinues. First, there is Vajrakilaya on a wheel of 4 spokes. On each spoke, there are the 4 sun Kilayas. And that 4-spoke wheel is on top of another wheel with 8 spokes. And on each spoke, there is a wrathful deity. So altogether, there are 8. And then outside that wheel with 8 spokes, there are 10 another wrathful herukas. And each one of them is accompanied by 2 attendant wrathful beings. The wheel in the Vajrakilaya is a little bit different. It is the will of wrathful deities. Tomorrow, when you will see the Dharma, you will know how it looks like.
Nimata Zerjus de Yu, some Tata Rangalucher Kajang, the Rangipo and the Kigo Mari. The Nindi Choa Jepata Dena, the Melon of Zunita de Tini, the Ki like a Kunta of check. Three Gomlo, Lapsang, Penade. Tata Tichipore, the Yami come to Rangipo, Tosom come and out to watch who one get the ring out in Saturday, Gom de River. Tini Gobjur Donchi Goma, yes, no. Purpaka di Goma de Pena Pushu Jaga, Sinza, Cha, Dijeri. Pushu Tongi Madok, that is Saga Goji Yeri, then you put Sinza or Padua, Juba, Cha, Chao Bani, Tini Jaga and do it. That is Sarije, don't watch it, go money. Sarije, Gomajit, Sro, Koran Goyer. 3D Pancham, young Jingol, that many Pancham Toma, Tatana, the purpose of my Levang Gipani, the Hako, Lamsa, Saturday dinner, song it open. Seja Tonga Jiva, Dani Chona Sada, Seja Tonga Jiva, so the whole of the Zopati, the hopes that they can't leave the whole of the Zopati, that is always the kind of a project. Then it is yes, some person from the US up and Levang Jiba Satin Tong from the data. Halavagita, Tata Pancham, Gandhi Usa, Suma Mambo, the earliest.
In this case, the visualization is self-generation. Self-generation means you are yourself in the form of this Kilaya, with everything as just explained. And the whole thing is in the nature of light, like the light of sun or moon. In other ways of practicing Vajrakilaya, there is this system of front generation and then self-generation and so forth. So in the front generation, all this mandala of deities appear in front of you in the space. And then you become like a mirror where all these deities reflect. So in the text it says, at the 4 entrances are the 4 gatekeepers. So these 4 entrances are the entrances of this mandala. And these 4 gatekeepers are deities with heads of birds, such as owl and bird, hawk, and so forth. So anyway, there are 4 deities with heads of birds. And then in the courtyard, there are all the guardians of Vajrakilaya mandala. In the text, it says, around the fence surrounding the mandala are the suns and emanations together with their protectors. In the extensive description of the mandala of Kilaya, you can find the locations and names of all these Dharma guardians. But here, you can simply imagine that they are all in the courtyard around the mandala.
무슨 소마 되게 사템들이 다리 되게 할람자 니마 저저 오 상검지 되다 뭐 검는데래 좀고 용서 좀 봐게 되지 쪼위 저가리 니마 땡이 되더니 다 쪼위 저가리 니마가 땡더 20만 총강소 내가 되니 진 자원이 매와 제로 니 부총나고 저더니 니매와 총강된지 강디래 나들 배 10만 총강디 이 파파지 토갈 저지들이 공데 디 토갈라 드니 니마나 시마 게야 와서 시마가 제가서 니마 스마 총강 토갈라 드니 니마타 시마 게 봐서 디드는 도르겐트나 내잠 도르겐트나 내잠 때와 용가르잠 하장 서트 커보여 대 강리되는 비 세월을 빠점네 제를 빠 제직도 내는 사람 맞답나 제르미 약 뽑아잖아 사태 말에 대해서 그래
제부디기 닝갈러왈 니마 춘준디 하 제부디기
니마다 조사 고도가 좋은 강대는 20만 맞아서 6살 니마 알아서 고대라 니마 알아서는 20만 좋은 강들이
에시에선베 투갈라양 니마 춘준지
20만 투갈 다양 니마 세마게 봤어 제마 게 봤어 나도 빼가 뭐지 사가세 가삼나데 제름 대차를 빼살라 다 노지 대와 용깔 사지 등데나 다 용깔게 체가 되나 다 니마서 요래 대코 똥말아 디능데나 다 빼나 다 홍자나 디뿌기 디바삼 홍디 이게 양 코똥바 빼고 사똥인 봐. 디 홍디 타되더니 벤자 그레그라야 홍페 그라인 로거 되더니 리지 용고치네 다들이 요바 다 대산되는 배나 온베지클 그라야 홍페 그라인 로거 드리디 코르니 배나디 단다다 제름도 사 탭송나 배나 김말아래 바디 야라 보는 주로리 제름 됐다 사 탭송들이 야라 보는 주로리 야라 총로 마서 예쁘게 체르 마성지 제름서는 은행들 상들이 양절 달라는 기다 콩나 배 양래야 무슨 사 탭 카보도 빼
Up to this, the visualization of the mandala is explained, and this one you can just have rough visualization in the beginning. You feel the presence of all these deities in your body, outside your body, the wheel, and so forth. So now, in the heart of the principal deity upon the sun is the wisdom being the height of a thumb joint, rolling a purba. So, the wisdom being in the heart is naked. It does not have any ornament, any dress. And the size is of the thumb joint, just half of your thumb. And this naked thumb size wisdom being is standing on a moon disk and rolling a purba. And inside the heart of that naked deity, there is a sun disk. The size of that sun disk is like a small pea. It's very small. And in the center of that small, tiny sun, there is a Vajra made of gold. And that Vajra is very tiny, very small. Rinpoche, dorje thingna rawe serpo rela.
Aga.
Dorje thingna rawe serpo, danchi serpo thingna.
Serji dorji sondo serpo.
Ene dinna dorje thingna de kare.
This serji dorji.
Ah, okay. Then dorje ki tewa la kare yore.
Serji dorji. Tewa name deta. Serji di nangji rega. The
dorje is golden in color, and it's the size of the dorje, the Vajra, is like a grain. And in the center of that grain-sized Vajra, there is a hung. The size of the hung is like a mustard seed, so it's very tiny. The color of the Vajra is golden, and that golden color represents bodhicitta. So it's very fine visualization. In order to have a clear visualization of this tiny Vajra and syllable, one has to have very strong mindfulness, very strong concentration. So the smaller the visualization is, the stronger the mindfulness is. The waist of the Vajra is as small as a mustard seed, and the interior of the mustard seed size waist of the Vajra is empty, and inside that is a syllable Hung, and the Hung is dark green in color, and it's very fine, like written with piece of hair, and that is also transparent, clear but empty, and that dark green Hung is encircled by the Vajrakilaya mantra, Om Banjakilaya, etc. Kilikilaya Hung Pet. There are 9 syllables. So this is a very difficult visualization.
I'm Rinpoche. Pariorabese digil.
Par chine ke ngus ziyare dina na pena di saya yipki ore. Chine ke ngus ziyare gomni ma che.
Nowadays the scientists have created such micro, very small things, like this prayer wheel contains 4 billion mantras, very fine. So micro mantras.
Dia sa tangbo gomdu te cha chise de gom chama sar thele tiri kale che chong de songju ma song de musu de Germany lamdang di chung sa che che chong chama gom de tiri che chong tong te kale tiri che chong tong yang da de te tang musu gom tu ko lu pen le che lam de jang nang ni te to jang ji yo ba sa ji de ka re din na musu ji ya le pen de ji ya ba de da di mi hin ga ma de tong go ma do pe jo ju yo de din musu ta pe de jo ko re me ge meng de de la me ji meng de la di te ji ge meng de ji ge de na to song ju ti ka de meng de na hong de le de la pe che re tri lam cha thing mo sa tham le tri ka le sa them le tin chi rik pa ti ji che rik pa ta ni ji be tin dam nga sam ji me cha ba yo le ti ha chang rik pa te ni de gom de na tin rik pa ta ni ji pe rik pa sa wo yung go yo le gu ba chim bo yo le te ka bo no pe de
So this first you can visualize a little bit bigger in size and then try to reduce it. Very tough. I myself couldn't do it very well. Practitioners who can do this kind of visualization perfectly can demonstrate miraculous powers, like Milarepa once when it was raining entered a horn of a yak without becoming his body smaller and without the horn becoming bigger. So these kind of miraculous powers can be displayed with the practice of such fine visualization. And Rigzin Chodak, one of the Jikung throne holders, was also a very expert practitioner of the generation stage, and such practitioners can demonstrate miraculous powers because of such practice. Kind of practices of the generation stage are very powerful and they are very effective. They are taught by enlightened beings, and they are also true. For example, nowadays we can see those micro letters, those micro things. Modern technology has proved all these things. In the traditional example, we use the pupil in the eye. The pupil in the eye can contain the entire world. So it's so small, but it can fit the whole world in it. So that's an example usually used to describe the possibility of integrating the whole world in these tiny mantras and objects. These kind of fine visualizations are methods to make your rigpa or awareness very stable, and also it's a method to free your awareness from defilements. And it's very, very useful to practice the generation stage, but it was quite difficult for me.
Da sem de tin da cha ya le tin ta chirik ban da de tin zong ki da ga te na de nang ba sa je be chu de be ha le so le tin ge so sa je chi be cha da ha go be do be na ho le chirik gan tar ta ba de sa je ka re ji chu tham chi ne be chu de go na nang ba zo re ji ko de chu me ji be na de da di chirik ga ge ge ni de ho le ta di hib di ta ma de比较酷是的，咱们好嘞， 산지가를 하래고 논때 고좀 무슨 딱게 딴 거요 책대라 산지 까타고 딱게 딴나 무슨 어다들이 산지가 송요리데 얘나 만나서 같이 대충 같이 내 하고 뭐도 산지가 까 대충요 말이 삼 들이 빼는 건 아니지 산지가 대충요 말이 랑 시라고 대다면 윤고면도 삼 들이 또 봐요 그래 뒤때는 뒤다다 지르고 손인데 내들은 코 싸와 대리 마시게 가진 시기요 가진 시기요 말인데 또 제가 망고 탐지 했더니 무슨 나봐 사진을 할 리가요래 되는 거 탐지 쌀 템나 너다 템다 저기 온 거리 가시 쌀 맞습니다 20스 맞고 쌀 템나 뒤뒤 도로 홍유 사셈 마행 방안에 너바담 때나 레벨 매바 말해 빼나 근데 그걸로 보지란 거 송을 네 마가 동통 담겠나 얘는 템나 라비 가시 마템나랑 생은 너바서 보이구나 나 끼네도 예 삼을 삼바삼jel더니 소남 삼제 맞잡아 토주 송이야래 쳤다 가서 곰 저기 가시 마템나 셈마행 보는 데는 빼나 나 이제네 도지 좀래 삼들이 들이지네 빼나 이마다 가리 돈이 이게 송juk 갖다 소 플라이 소데 소그제 제리제가 소그제데 원래 그 마셔봐케네 샘데 니게 마더라 제 디마 마양바제 되나 din nomchung yo mare gom thamna drebe yore tari samma bangorezi.
All these ideas in the generation stage are very much similar to the scientific discoveries. So therefore, the greatest scientists, when they compared their discovery with the Buddha's teachings, they became surprised. And they even said that the teachings of the Buddha is the ultimate science. And this picture that is on the shirt is of one of the scientists, Albert Einstein. He has appreciated the Buddha's teachings by knowing this kind of truth, this kind of fine discoveries of the Buddha. And therefore, he invented the presentation of Peace Prize. They became appreciative of the Buddha's teachings through analyzations, through investigations. But among us, a lot of us do not really trust in the Buddha's teaching. There are a lot of doubts. And there are few who do not know everything by analyzation and investigation, but still there is very strong faith. And I'm one of them. I do not know the Buddha's teachings really well, but however, I have no doubt in the teachings of the Buddha at all. I put this picture here today just to say that every bit of the Buddha's teachings are scientific, in connection with the reality. Milarepa has said that if you go after the projections of the mind, which is confusion, then there is no end to it. But if you look back into the mind, then you find everything in there. The scientists, they go after the projections of the mind, after the phenomena, and they discover a lot of things, but they never find an end. The Buddha knew everything these scientists, discovered, but he did not teach all because it was not useful, because it was not necessary for the welfare of sentient beings. Because Buddha was a kind of scientist who looked back into the mind, not into the projections of the mind. Although even if you cannot visualize the fine syllables and vajra and so forth, at least you can try to visualize the wisdom body, the wisdom being who is without any clothes and ornaments, and try to keep your attention on that and just feel that inside this wisdom being there is this tiny sun disk and the vajra and so forth. Even if you have the confidence that you are essentially in the nature of a deity, in the nature of Vajrakilaya, that alone has very great benefits. Guru Rinpoche has said that only having confidence in the visualization is a great achievement. So if you think you are Avalokiteshvara, and if you are confident about that, that in itself is free from distraction. And try to be confident that you are essentially in the nature of the deity, because you have the heart of all deities, which is emptiness and compassion.
대탐지 드니 사안이 지금 고문도 와서 지 뭐게 고뭐 똑장 많이 봐. 드니 소비자와 사람 탐지게 소비자와 탐지게 드니 tuk지 사람도 대가서 떼게 원래 이 강인데는 콩나 뭐 심기 동마도 삼지요 말 드니 무슨 미적게 도지 좀 저거들이 곰 문이 샘디 못 살다오나 디 도지 좀인데 또 콩나 배 떼게 원래 빼나 원래 다리 대바선 되구나. 대 강연에 빼나 사지에 밤에 뭐나나 손을 주스 뭐나 톱다. 뭐는 접샷. 주중문에 누구 톱대 콩나 배째. 저는 같이 좀 뭐나라고 무슨 사람 자치 못 싸고 그러가. 야, 무슨 싸 유매 하고 말이에요. 소나지 한번 싸는 큐란 체지. 다다 그런 거 강에 잠못한다. 몇번 등결 내지 세바이 소사제 탐지게 뭐라도 소티는 소비자와 탐지게 거서라 잡자지 요래 왕거 생길라 봐요 왕다 동호 저배지 이제 자와는 거는 들은 철레소네 되니 도지존이 계속 그랬더니 동호 저봐요 나발 남제 되니 나다 용의 욕을 빼나 거기가 육사대에서 고사 지혜로 내가 제단 게 네. 그런데 소비 자와 탐지에서 합때 자와 탐지 릉아 야변이라. 드니 릉아 야변나 릉아 야변 꼬망보 패물라 드니 대탐지 릉아 야변 교원네 드니 오디션네 드니 가슬려 탐거여래 오송소 아하 맘라만 밥다 암제나 릉아 야변 상공 아래 드니 대탐지 합때 빼는 찔레 초르도 와나지 그것도 답책 봐 정서 사고 곰들이 저거 곰들이 들이 히바 곰대 반능이 들이 라랑 특별 저기 히스바지 장교 들이 나과 띠네 초르도 왔다 왔더니 땅소를 패본 거요래 패봐야 되니 도치는 때는 카와 봐봤다 그러지 들이 바보 안에 탐 영을 요래 들이들이 기인이 다 패고 쇼래.
In the visualization, you are not doing this visualization alone, but you have with you the blessing of the Buddhas of the 10 directions, their power. But in order to have the assistance or the support of all these enlightened beings, you have the 3 kinds of faith explained this morning. In the aspiration prayer of Buddha Amitabha has said, you sentient beings, make the supplication, and the enlightened beings are right there. So all these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions can become a great support in the whole process of generation and meditation and in all activities that is involved. The Vajrakilaya is specially connected with the activities of the 5 Buddha families. In this case, the chief of the family is Amoghasiddhi, who reside in the visualization above Vajrakilaya. So all the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times are included in the 5 Buddha families with their consorts. And in this visualization, you as a practitioner is the samaya or commitment being in the form of Vajrakilaya. And then all these enlightened beings of the 3 times and 10 directions fall down on you like snowflakes, like rain falling from the cloud. And then when these countless replicas of the wisdom beings touch your body, they dissolve into your body like snowflakes falling on very hot boulder, very hot stone. And also among this rain of wisdom beings include the mantras of the 5 Buddha families, which are Om Hung Tam Shi A, Om Hung Tam Shi A.
옹소 앙하 이제 르가리 다 유로다 맘람만 봐 내르가 야마 맘람만 밤데 영아 옹소 앙하
그래서 옴홍
소 여기 옹홍 장세지 주면 장면 소르가 소르 뭐지래
옴홍
소앙하
Sorry, Om Hung So Ang Ha.
These
are the mantras of the 5 Buddha families.
Mam lam
Mam lam bam pam tam. Mam lam bam pam tam.
Yum
The mantras of the 5 concerts of the 5 Buddha families.
Rangaya na ba song ni. Teni te nyam de ni do sobyu tyusum saje tabje. Teni doji yoni ko chepcha mang chung chung dini yongkar tam chiwa rap tam la so bandai na fa kan chaba pa ba na ye ni tamsong sa.
Yakus. Tanda zunga di rwal. Zunga di ku.
Zungati
Zunga kurang sagar.
ko nyoro.
Zunga kurang kul gyur gyur.
Zunga
di kungyam do ma sago re khande changor.
리 zungade ko nyoro de. Ko ya nyoro nga ye pe una. Teni na fa kan jone de ni. 我常理这个往大同学把做了，这种个有了啊，耍他比50块过的，个派过来的。这里红界面那么的区级营业的，但区级营业的，但那跨东门的呢，刚要建营业嘛来着，计划没办硬的呢，这里年纪全部冲出来打的呢，结尾冲出来把搞东吧，哎，到底用扩张计划大点中国他们差了没？ 이 무슨 배우고요. 내다 과탐지가 통고요래 무슨 통을 꿈도 삼신 니 차로다 탐지 쏘는 거래. 이 규제네 내들 찍어서 아, 드니 대 강연 되는데 직진 스파네야 빼놓고 돌집하고 좀 이자래. 감성 스파도 돌집하고 좀 골라. 드비 동도 드니 왕당 거 탐지 쏘는 드니 시초자 탐지 희초. 天马这大当起码是我呀定学的，天马这个来我都要找出来，你写出家拍票的这打不出有可有的他，这个是哪个？
All these wisdom beings are, in essence, they are the 5 Buddha families, but in aspect they appear as Vajrakilaya, and they are countless in number, and they are in union with the consorts. And they rain down and dissolve into you. The invocation of the primordial wisdom beings from the unborn, completely pure nature of the Dharma Dhatu. The unborn Dharma Dhatu cannot be explained as anything. And from that arise the manifestations of all these wisdom beings. You can just read down showing the miracle of birth as blazing body, Dorje Shunu or Vajrakilaya, together with your entire assembly from the Dharma Dhatu, come here to this place to accomplish existence as Vajrakilaya. The purpose of invoking the wisdom beings of Vajrakilaya, the purpose of inviting them to this place is to realize the 3 realms of samsara as the mandala of Vajrakilaya. That is the essential nature of the 3 realms of samsara. And for that purpose, you request these wisdom beings to bestow empowerment and spiritual attainments without exception. Wrathful wisdom king, with your entourage having come here, display the auspicious signs and symbols and to bestow the spiritual attainment of Kilaya. Wrathful wisdom king, come forward now with your entire assembly. So, all this assembly with Vajrakilaya are invited to realize the world as the mandala of Vajrakilaya.
다 내가 제시되는 요래 강의에 되나 나홍 방호되는 쇼되는 연구비 좀 생기 가래래 저쪽에 담자야래 저쪽에 라 사지 담지 재미질 담자야요 봐 원래 몇자 사만자지 원래 주주 담자대로 와지 원래 되는 가속에 다른 고니 재미질 샘기도 우주 샘기 제요래 다 주주 담자 저도 마용 나용래지 원래 저도 마용을 저도 참는 거에 tum기래지 다 먼저 사만 띠라는 다 돼. 가속을 재미제요. 주주 담자대래지 가서 담자 직바래지 되는 참고 오케이.
So the mantra Za Hung Bam Ho, this is a very crucial point of the sadhana. Here what you are actually saying to the wisdom beings is that you wisdom beings have made a promise, and the promise is to benefit sentient beings through the four immeasurables. And now we, the Samaya beings, I, the Samaya being, has also generated the four immeasurables and has invited you. And now it's your duty to come and dissolve into me. And if you don't do that, you are breaking your promise, and that is illegal.
이거는 속다라원들이 담책이되나 매 인지문지 연구 그래서 재미지로 오면은 연구 많이 건조.
This is a very crucial point. Here you meet the wisdom being with the commitment being. The link between the wisdom being and the commitment being is the four immeasurables. The wisdom being has promised the four immeasurables, and you have also cultivated the four immeasurables. So you have this connection.
연구 말이 되나 느끼 요 말이 대사요 말봐. 용의 대사요 말 재미지로 오면은
If you do not have the mind of the four immeasurables, then even if those wisdom beings come, you have no place for them to sit. So you need the four immeasurables in you where they can sit. Now here we have this kitchen and the guest house and place for camping. So that's why you can come and stay here. Without these things, nobody would come. So in the same way, if there is no four immeasurable in the commitment being, the wisdom being will not come.
도르게 퍼페 왕레제 진디는 왕 대차디 저땅 라탐지 오 죽바에나야 진이 텔은 틀레게 제브디 올레 진이 가자 왕보라면 탈라 때문에 진이 왕은 제바 드와 텔레티는 틀레야 제브디 대다데 요레 가자 찍기 남슬림 발라 베랑 틀레 드바 드리요레더니 디 timbanze chong personal tine tine che wanda le jet jona tine ti chu yang chile je ba tine yore tine phaba de pen di le so je ba le tine wang na de se je bo yore tine lam ba kang yu ben di tamje je tang o lunga yi so mege wa le do le tine ge wa le be ba le 상총 semnamba 이게 동네 마다와래 데르카카요 말이지.
Today I'm going to confer upon you the empowerment of Vajrakilaya. Generally all deities are one and the same in terms of accomplishing great activities. But different empowerment is specialized in different activity. As for the Vajrakilaya empowerment, there are simplified version of Vajrakilaya empowerment and elaborated form of Vajrakilaya empowerment. The simplified form of empowerments are given to individuals who wish to accomplish the activities. And the elaborated form of empowerments are given to people who wish to make the Dharma flourish, make the Dharma preserved, and make the Dharma reach far and wide. And for this, in order to accomplish the great activities, this empowerment is given. And the empowerment today is the elaborated one. All types of Dharma paths are methods to free the body, speech, and mind from non-virtuous actions and engage them in virtuous actions. And all these activities are included in the relative and absolute bodhicitta.
Any delaying Kunhong zo chimbore, geta chichong kang, man reject lona, Kunhong number tan, then get a young tapa younger yore. Then it teranga Kunhong number yore. Jiggle so, Rana, Junu the wrong one, then is a hot dog jet up with Junu the wrong one. Then a catu, Amjo Nana, the shaker, Sanchuk sent to Kunhong or heads. Ole, Namkata, you must simply Dita with Dogig, Trapa, Malamda, and Dele. Don't let any rara ishi chimbi. No one told it any dodgy chunga sala. Mugo do, Tamchil Sanji, Juni, your race. Then a rectangle matter chepareda. Then it is Tamchil, don't dance Sancho Timbo Tuna. Sanji Sala Gutapon do, teach it any dodgy puppet and call a shop by Yensa. The Sancho simply go on red. Then you go on Nibala the Sanghaga go on. Someone had you go on the Shirap Chimbo, the Datam Shigatini, Rana Chuji Meltona, the new son who injected Tamshi, Joan Agaramji, Yimching Agaramji read, or simply triple one to Kovan that our town at the neck up that of Desari, trip out of it, there is 100 triple Agaramji, no injecting trouble your head. Didn't you simply Trouble Tamchi and up and a journey dashing you boy, neck up Mark but Jing the penalty cook the Malamta and Trukuri Mato. Jenny Tamchi, Yishing I Ramji, you mount of Yishing I Ramji read. Then Nuku I Jenny talk about it, and neck up triple now as after the Mato. Talk Ramji read. Then not the one go up on Arina Bella or the Pachi Dodi Musumi. Didn't call you up on us or long Tamsiena. Eugene Kata struck up in objective battery. Ponkam Timpita, Eugene, Takpa, Madab, now the Malam Tower, the longer run of Benaco, dancing one with Choin on the Chowram Tower, Chadiaman, Eugene, Takpa, somebody, Semdi, Rotaje, and 3 Titanake, Mshike.
In every kind of Dharma practice, it is very important to have a great intention. Even if you recite one mantra, that should be based on a great motivation, wish to benefit others. For receiving the Vajrayana teachings, like today's empowerment, you need 2 types of great intentions. The first intention is necessary in order to prepare yourself as a proper vessel for the empowerment. And that is, as I always said, training your mind in bodhicitta. How do you train your mind in bodhicitta? You think about all mother sentient beings. And you know that sentient beings are suffering from confusion. They are suffering like in dream. And if these sentient beings can realize their self-awareness, they can attain the state of Vajradhara, because all sentient beings have the Buddha nature, the potentiality to become like Vajradhara. And you wish to help all sentient beings accomplish that. And that is why you are ready to receive this empowerment. And the second kind of great intention is the sacred outlook of the Vajrayana teachings. That has to do with the great wisdom that the external world, which is composed of the elements, is naturally divine. These 4 elements are the 4 concerts of, these 5 elements are the 5 concerts of the 5 Buddha families. And sentient beings have not realized that divine nature of the world because of their ignorance, because of their confusion. If you look at this world from the eye of wisdom, then while appears to be in the nature of an emanation body. And then you look at sentient beings. All of them have the Buddha nature. They are temporarily overwhelmed by ignorance, but basically, essentially, they are enlightened beings. Even the essential nature of their afflicting emotions are in the nature of the 5 wisdoms. So that is the sacred outlook, viewing the world and sentient beings as deities. And then I, as the Vajra master, should also be considered Vajrakilaya himself. And then you, as a person receiving the empowerment, is confident that you are potential to achieve enlightenment. You have the Buddha nature. And you are temporarily overwhelmed by ignorance of the conception of self. And you are kind of frozen by this kind of ignorance. As soon as you will be melt from this ego fixation, you can be enlightened. And you are very confident about that. With this kind of confidence, you should receive this empowerment.
Teni tela tenen kozaga wang teni kapta papala teni lopun kangze jupa kangne ju teni parti doji yonu ge teni dota reze teni teni parti doji yonu ke kor ri sanje la teni chuni ji rangja ke time jupa reze teni ju jupa namba yere de la java gongbu jupa 다이 주바 가자 힘공 주바 대추 모남 주바 되니 주바 예요래 주네 되는데 다때 주래 손대 때만 사오 사들 주바래서
춘이랑란 술송지
자와 공부 주바지는 맨 레탐부 갈 자와 탐체게 변에 적기로 주바 시에고 말에 적기로 공부 때네 공부는 들이 공남배 적기로 공부 때 우리 자와 공부 주바지 이 디오데 디를 빠져만 탐죠 다잠진의 상하죠 다담진의 기는 디를 다이 주바지 디니 디오니 다대와 탐죠 가자 힘공 주바지 적기로 암조는 시 디리케네 디니 가자 힘공 주바지 디니 디에 탐죠 가시 무슨 요래 사자바게 다다 거를 보지 여기 다 봐도 주마체 주바요래 디니 양당 거를 보체도 이시 사자 탐죠 그 디니 사람만 염부 체도 디니 무슨 사대를 배당을 그런 보지고 송 이 이신토자가 살이 있다면 때를 배는데 때 말에 송가가 대충 넘겨 봐서 되니 대양 그런 뭐지 공개가 되니 다 주바당 뭐 강리 쉬선 하더니 사홀 규모 로봇 잡아 하더래 쉬베인 대슈바간이 로봇 잡아 하더게 송네 되니 그런 뭐지 대답을 잡아 이봐 옛날양 오 잡아 하더게 내 초로 왕거가 가봐 메딘스 카로마 데빈 콜로로 휴스 대 강내 좀 소사는 요요래서 드리송을 해야 돼 카로마 데빈 콜로 두 소사는 요요래서 데리고를 해서 잡아 하더게 드니 로봇 뭐지 두 소사는 패비 시적 카로마 데빈 콜로로 왕대시디 이 시적 카로마 되게 드니 로봇 저거 이게 홍을 저는 근데 작은데는 미소를 작은데는 미소네 되니 네 위에네 저 렘바 형카 네 위에네 되니 왕제적 발건네 되니 세스 전네 되니 왕들이다 되니 상치 되니 레적은 치 되게 솔라 되니 거는 뭐지 이놈들이 나는 했던 거를 뭐지라
The Vajrakilaya teachings and empowerments has come to the present day through different lineages. And these teachings were first taught by Vajrakilaya in the self-sound of Dharmadhatu. And the lineages are, for instance, the lineage of the enlightened intent of the Buddhas. It means that these teachings were transferred from mind to mind by enlightened beings. The second lineage is the lineage of Vidayadharas. The Vidayadharas received these teachings through mudras and through symbols and gestures, which is called the lineage of gestures. And then the whisper lineage, that is the third lineage. Whisper lineage means the teachers transmitted these empowerments and teachings to proper disciples from ear to ear. And that kind of lineage is now held in the Sakya tradition, starting from Guru Padmasambhava until now. And then Guru Padmasambhava and the Dakini Eshu Tsogel concealed the Vajrakilaya teachings and empowerments in treasure for the benefit of future sentient beings and to have a direct connection to Guru Padmasambhava. And the empowerment that you are going to receive today is coming from the treasure lineage. So in Zahor, there was a great practitioner of Vajrakilaya who was called Tapahata. And Guru Rinpoche requested this great master for the Vajrakilaya empowerment and teachings. But Tapahata denied and advised Guru Rinpoche to meet a Dakini called Devi, who dwelt in a cemetery, in a charnel ground. Accordingly, Guru Padmasambhava went to the cemetery and met the Dakini Devi Kora. Devi Kora, well. Devi Kora. And up on meeting the Dakini Devi Kora, when Guru Rinpoche requested her for the empowerment, she herself transformed into a syllable hum and entered Guru Padmasambhava's mouth. And then gradually Guru Padmasambhava received all the 4 empowerments. The body empowerment to his crown, secret empowerment to his speech, wisdom knowledge empowerment to his heart, and the words empowerment to his navel. And then also he got the secret name and the authority to perform the 4 great activities.